And we are back with more on News Talk Saga 960. So very glad you could join us to start your work week right here on the Mark Petroni Show. Always happy to have Adrian Wooley on the line. Adrian is the president of the Peel Regional Police Association. Did I get that right, Adrian?
Absolutely. Yeah. I'm the president of the Peel Police Association.
And that's a 3,200 person group of people. So that's a sizable
Yeah,
police union.
we're the third largest municipal service in all of Canada. So yeah, we have 3,200 people.
Nice. And I saw a story. The reason I thought of you, it's interesting because I sent you a note. It was 3 o'clock in the morning a couple of days ago. And I go, I'm going to reach out to Adrian because I saw this story by our mutual friend, Joe Warmington, over at the Toronto Sun. And I said, maybe I get his take on this, figuring I'll hear from him tomorrow morning. The guy gets back to me like literally within 30 seconds. And it's 3 a.m. I'm going, does the man ever sleep? But I guess there's no time for sleep when you're managing a union, is there, Adrian?
Listen, I don't sleep very often, but I'm on call 24/7, 365. And I mean, my members, my men and women are out there, whether they're civilian or whether they're sworn uniform members that are out on the street. They're working 24 hours a day, like I said, 365. So if if they have problems, they have issues, God forbid, personal tragedies, I want to make sure that I'm there for them, and that's my job to be there for them. So yeah, when the little ding went off at 3 o'clock, I was kind of like, look over. I was kind of like,
you were like dozing, you're dozing, you hear the text go off, and then it bolt upright, boom. Oh, okay, Petroni, yeah, I'll respond to that.
I'm like, wow. Yeah, I can. That was easy. Yeah, I read that.
That was impressive, man. I tell you. But you hear that about police officers and first responders, don't you? That even after they retire, they're still like on call in their head, and after doing this for decades. I mean, that must get to you after a while.
I don't know if it gets to us, but I mean, it is difficult to shut it off. You have people that have worked maybe like myself, almost 2 decades at the front lines or in an investigative bureau or in uniform. And then you go to a straight day gig. It's difficult. And sometimes there's a lot of bonuses with being a straight day gig, but there's also times where you can't turn the body off, or the body's kind of like, hey, it's time to get up, or you should be alert. And even last night I was up at 2:30 and I didn't get back to sleep for another 3 hours. And, I'm like, well, what the hell? I'll start sending some emails. And I'm sure people are like, why are you sending me an email at 4 o'clock in the morning? But,
well, you hear about this stuff, even cases of PTSD and all this kind of thing. And I think police have had it pretty rough during this pandemic. I mean, to me, and I only found this out later on, is that when Premier Ford of Ontario issued that decree about that, there should be, stop and basically just stop anybody,
right.
and ask them why they were out and about. And then you hear about, wow, good thing that the police chiefs stood up for the common man and woman in Canada and, in Ontario, because that, of course, runs counter to the Charter of Rights and Freedoms. Now I find out later on, well, actually, it was probably the police unions who had a heck of a lot to do with that. I mean, people don't know how close we came to having a police state, a real police state. I mean, it feels like that many times, but to have reach the point where police are literally obligated to stop people on the street and find out why they're not home, locking down.
Honestly, we dodged a huge bullet there. And I understand the thought process behind it. I really do. And I don't think there was anything nefarious in Doug's mind or with, but my God, I don't think they thought it through fully and understood how dangerous that could have been. And we discussed this before on I think that would have set back community engagement and how our members, work within the community. It would have set us back decades, not even just years. There's no way that my God, can you imagine just pulling people over or just stopping them in the street just for no reason whatsoever than you're out of your house? What's your name? Where are you going? Oh, forget it. No way. He would have made the police the bad guys right across the province. And you would look at what's going on in Australia right now. And that's what we would have right now. And I wouldn't blame people for being upset and hating the police for having that type of power. We don't want that type of power. I think that, you start wielding a stick that big, it's a recipe for disaster, and you would never have public buy-in ever again.
And now we got this Omicron COVID variant starting to spread out of South Africa. And of course, they've taken prompt action on flights coming in from hotspots and so forth. So, what goes through your mind now? Like, do you feel like, okay, well, I've got some experience now dealing with this thing because of COVID. And so now that this new variant has come out, we kind of have at least an idea of what to do, how to handle it. Obviously, a guy like you in your position, Adrian, you'd be keeping a close eye on this thing.
Well, I think that we've done as far as a service and as an association, looking after our people extremely well. I think that Chief Duriappa and I talk all the time and have very good dialogue back and forth. And we try to protect our people the best we can. At the end of the day, both of us have the same goal in mind, making sure that the community is safe and making sure that our members are safe and that they're doing it in a safe environment. We knew obviously that after the Delta variant came in, that there's going to be other variants and other strains or strands of COVID that was coming in. I think as long as we have protective measures and stay vigilant on all those protective measures, that we're going to look after the community and we're going to look after our people as well. We were very nervous at the beginning, not sure exactly how this was going to look and pan out. And I think I said this before, that the chief and I had already discussed, like, oh my gosh, what if we have some of our members die because of this COVID? Thankfully, that hasn't happened. We've had a very, very, very low rate of infection within the service, and zero infection from our members going to the public, and very, very low as the public coming to the members as well. So it's been very good. So with the new variant coming in, it doesn't surprise me. But the federal government has to make some more restrictions as well, or put something in place. So I don't know what's going to happen as far as the future goes. I don't have a lot of confidence in Justin there. That's for sure.
Who does?
No, he got back in. So
with 32%.
I know.
What does that say about the people running against him?
I know, right? That's the scary part. Oh my God! Like,
I know you don't want to go too far down that road. I got to ask you though, this story now: unvaccinated City of Toronto staff now facing firings after Christmas, and so we're looking at a decision that just came out. Adrian, I'm sure you're aware of it, delaying the firing date for municipal employees, firefighters, and paramedics until after Christmas. I guess that's a little Christmas gift for first responders.
Well, that's nice, right? Job. There you go. Merry Christmas. You didn't get fired. You have to look at the positive. Come on. John Tory is absolutely insane for anyone trying to push that narrative that they're problematic or they're endangering everyone else. First off, I got to think it's an extremely small amount of members in police, fire, and ambulance, and even nurses and doctors. So we're talking about probably less than 15% or on the high end, 20%. Again, then the infection rate of those people getting members of the public infected, they wouldn't be coming into work. They wouldn't be going on the road if they're a paramedic. They wouldn't be in a doctor's office if they're a nurse or anything like that, or in emergency if they're a nurse. They're certainly not going to be taking calls for service if they're on the road as a police officer, because we have all these other safety measures in place. You're not going to be a danger as a first responder if you've got COVID, because you're going to be staying at home because you're going to be sick. I know they're going to say, well, but they're asymptomatic and blah, blah, blah. But that happens for people that are vaccinated now. So don't tell me that the unvaccinated are a danger when the vaccinated are just as equally dangerous. It's just utterly foolish to be considered. Imagine you're working in an emergency as a nurse for the last 20 months. Everyone calls you a hero, and you've been working in some very, very difficult work environments or dangerous work environment. You've been working through COVID. You've been working long hours and overtime because they're short-staffed, just like everyone else is. And your reward for Christmas is a pink slip. It's utterly ridiculous. It is just someone wanting to push that narrative that, oh, see, we've got everyone vaccinated and we're good to go. We're safe. No, that's not the case. That's not what's going on. Again, they're not taking a common sense approach to this whatsoever. John Tory's pushing a narrative that I think is extremely dangerous for his workers, and I think it's going to backfire on them. I think that you're going to see the courts rule in favor of these members as long as they're abiding by the rules and regulations of their service, whether it be fire, emergency, nurses, and police services and stuff like that. These people are going to get their jobs back, and it's going to cost him a lot of money, I think, and I think that's going to backfire on him tremendously.
Adrian Wooley joining us. He is with the Peel Police Association, president of that union. All right. Well, the obvious omission from this list of first responders is the police officers. Adrian, not listed here. What's the status of your members now? As Toronto, I mean, you're in Peel, obviously, which is a different region. As you see, municipal governments turning the screws on their municipal workers. And so what's your status? What's your union status?
Well, I think that, again, I mean, I've spoken with the police services board. I've spoken with city councilors. I've spoken with the chief and all the deputies, and we have a phenomenal understanding, did a common sense and logical approach to this. And the common sense logical approach is, and I don't necessarily agree 100% with the testing of just unvaccinated, because we all know that the vaccinated can carry and transmit just as well as unvaccinated. But the common logical thing is we keep everything in place the way we've been doing it for the last 20 months. Everyone keeps their job, but the people that are unvaccinated will be tested. And there's a low, medium, and high testing rates. If you're a front line, then you're at a high rate. So you get tested twice a week. If you're at a medium, then you get tested once a week. And if you're a low, say you work in records or the property room, and you have zero exposure to anyone from the public, and you have very little interaction even with people in there, then you get tested once every 2 weeks. That to me makes sense. That's logical. That's something that my members can certainly can swallow. Certainly it's a more palatable taste for me to deal with and go forward with. And that's what the chief and I have been doing. And I think that the police services board agrees with that as well. So we've got nothing but common sense on this side. And I have to thank the chief and the police services board for understanding that. And again, I think it's just logical that that's the way that we move forward. So there's no danger of any of our members losing their jobs or being accommodated and moved off to the side and working in a closet or working remotely. It's business as usual here in Peel, and everyone keeps their jobs, and everyone keeps doing the great job that they've been doing for the last 20 months.
How much of that, Adrian, is due to the fact that you guys wouldn't take any crap? Yeah, you're defending. No,
well, I know.
No, seriously. I mean, I know if you're going to take crap, they're going to serve it up, right?
Yeah,
they're going to serve it up by the plate load. You stood up for your members and said no. I mean, that must have happened. Those conversations must have happened around the table.
Well, I'll tell you, they didn't happen on the table. They happened on the phone. And okay. And again, I've got that relationship that I can call the chief and be like, we're not doing this. This is ridiculous. That is stupid. So, and I know that he might just be like, oh, there's Adrian calling again. No, there's Adrian calling again. But again, I've had those constant conversations with him and with other members and community stakeholders, and just kept beating them over the head with, like, we can't lose sight on what the goal is here. And the goal is for us to stay unified. The goal is for everyone to stay safe, but also employed. And again, the common sense approach to this is like what we've been doing for the last 20 months. And when you look at the numbers for us, it's been extremely, extremely low. And thankfully, and I'm not saying, that it's not possible, but thankfully all of our infected people that are now gotten better have been very, very mild cases. So we haven't had anyone that's been hospitalized or on ventilators over the last 20 months within the service. So we've done very, very well. That said, I know that it's a possibility, but we've been very fortunate. I think that's from a lot of the measures that the service has put in place.
Yeah, and I think it's a credit to guys like you. I think you get as much, like I said, you get as much tyranny as you're prepared to tolerate. And
well, they know me. I'm a fighter. I got a fighting background, but
That's
I'm
right.
an old fighter. So I take fights that make sense. This is a
Yeah.
fight that certainly I was willing to, a hill I was certainly willing to die on.
Yeah.
Because it's the common sense approach to everything here, and keeping everyone employed and doing a good job is the right thing to do. Anything more than, I mean, if they had discussed, okay, we're going to start terminating people, yeah, they'd have a big fight on their hand.
Yeah. If we had, I don't know, a couple of armies of Adrian Wooleys, I don't think there would be any lockdowns in Canada.
Well, I
Can
don't
you
think so
stick around?
either.
I got to take a quick break. Can you hang around for one more segment?
Absolutely.
Have you got time?
Thanks.
Adrian
Yeah,
Wooley.
absolutely, for sure.
We're going to take a brief commercial break. Back with more on News Talk Saga 960 and the Mark Petroni Show and Adrian Wooley after this. And we're back with more on News Talk Saga 960. So very glad you could join us to start your work week right here on the Mark Petroni Show. We have Adrian Wooley, president of the Peel Police Association. It's a 3,200 person staff of solid police officers, men and women in blue, doing a terrific job. And Adrian does a wonderful job on behalf of his members. Welcome back, Adrian.
Thanks, Mark, for having me. I appreciate it.
Let's talk a little bit about this. And sometimes you see stories like this, and I have to say it's kind of troubling. Bradford School suspending a teen. Once again, a story from Joe Warmington over at the Toronto Sun. Check it out. Bradford School is suspending a teen. What did he do? Well, he had the temerity to fly a pro-police flag on a truck. The guy's name, this is disgusting, Carson Young, 17-year-old. I hope he grows up to be a cop because we need guys like that on the force. Was suspended for 3 days from Bradford District High School for flying this pro-police flag on his truck. Well, it's basically a maple leaf. You know, it's slightly different. It's a different color. It's got a stripe. I mean, you've seen this flag, Adrian, I take it. I mean,
Absolutely.
So Carson is free to fly his pro-police flag on his truck anywhere he wants, except in the parking lot at Bradford District High School. Yeah, we can't have that. We can't have shows of displays of support for police. I'm sure if he was a BLM or some other group, would have been no problem. Nobody wants to get in trouble with those people. What do you make of this one, Adrian?
I think it's absolutely shameful that the principal is taking that stance on that. And he didn't, and just, you know, I try to get a little bit more information because I'm like, this cannot be right. A principal cannot just suspend someone for flying his flag. So my understanding is they asked him to remove the flag. He, and rightfully so, denied that. And they said, well, we're going to suspend you for failing to abide by a direct order from the school district. I'm like, okay. So this kid wants, my understanding is his mom works for Barrie. His sister, I think, is an auxiliary. Is another family member works for South Simcoe, and his grandfather worked for 30 plus years as a Toronto copper. So this kid this kid comes from a police family. Like, this kid bleeds blue, and he's proud of his mom. He's proud of his sister. He's proud of I think it's his aunt or something. And he's proud of his grandfather. So hey, this is my family. And then their extended family as police officers. This kid's flying a flag that supports police officers, and he puts it on his truck. He's proud to be a part of a police family, and why wouldn't he, right? And I also understand he's a Big Brother, or he works for Big Brothers, or he volunteers for Big Brothers. So you're going to suspend this kid who volunteers on his own time, a 17-year-old kid, suspend him as a volunteer. Because he supports police officers. It's utterly ridiculous. I think that this is it's shameful on the school board. And I certainly believe that the principal has to check himself. Like, where is your moral compass here? I mean, it's totally askew. It makes zero sense for me for this guy to, and I believe it's a gentleman, to suspend him and be like, okay, well, I think that this infringes or upsets or angers certain members within the school. But it's not even within the school. It's within the parking lot. You're telling this kid what he can and can't do on his own personal motor vehicle. It makes no sense. I understand if it's disruptive and it's hate speech or it's something else within the community or within the classroom and it's disruptive. You know what? Hey, Carson's brought this in and it's disrupting the class. The class can't continue because Carson is saying this or Carson is doing this or Carson is wearing something that's inappropriate. I get that. Sure, everyone's there to learn. Everyone's got equal opportunity to learn. But you're telling me this kid's got something on his truck or his vehicle that's upsetting a very, very, very small group of people or no one at all. I don't even know how many kids were upset. But the principal's like, yeah, we can't have that in the parking lot. Oh my God. Let's put things in perspective here. I think this principal's gone way over the top, completely crossed the line. And now Carson, unfortunately, has to pay the price for it. He sounds like he's going to be a good kid, that he's got a head on his shoulders and he's already trying to do the right thing. And it sounds like he wants to be a police officer. So I welcome, there to be a bunch of Carsons out there to join the police force.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, this is wrong on so many counts. I mean, the free speech count alone, the fact that you're allowed to express yourself. He wasn't flying a Nazi flag. It's like, this guy was flying a police flag. He was showing his support. That's his expression. That's his free expression, his right as a Canadian to have that. If we were in China, you wouldn't have that right, because then you'd be, taken away and nobody would hear from you again. You got to do that. That's their thing. But now we're importing that kind of draconian attack on free speech here to this country, and that's extremely troubling. I mean, the other area of misguided action that this represents from my vantage point is what it sends in terms of a message to people at school. So everybody knows what happened to Carson. And so what are they going to be thinking? Well, that must mean that the police are bad, because if he can't fly a police flag, well, ergo, the police are bad. And that troubles me as much as anything, because the police have a tough enough job as it is. To now send the message that you can't even show your support for the police department in a school environment, the parking lot yet. If that's enough to get you into trouble, then nobody should be too surprised that, support for police starts to wane. It's not. I think people still support the police like crazy, but it just seems like they're sending the wrong message to kids. I don't know. What say you?
It's completely, and I think that's what this principal is missing, and what school board is missing is the greater message that's being sent by this action, and it's perception, and perception is reality, and a lot of people, if you start to say, well, it's wrong to support the police, and we're going to suspend you for it. Well, they're not suspending him for it. They're going to hide it under the guise of, well, he disobeyed a direct order. That's why he got suspended, not because he supported the police. Well, but let's go back to the root cause of what he refused to do. He refused to remove a flag that was in support of police officers and police families, which he's proud to be from. So, no, your free speech doesn't count for you, young man. I'm sorry. And so if you don't take it down in the parking lot, not even in the classroom, you're going to be suspended. It's just a terrible message for the school board, terrible message for the principal. And ultimately, it's disheartening, I'm sure, for Carson to want to show support for his family and his extended family within the police services. And I think it's just a bad message to send. What's next? Is this teacher going to say, well, I don't like poppies either, so he's going to go after the veterans? Nope, you can't wear a poppy in the school now. Oh my gosh. I mean, look what happened to Don Cherry. So it's utterly ridiculous, I think, for them to take this stance. And I feel sorry for Carson. If there's anything that we can do at PRPA to support Carson, we certainly will.
Well, you're doing it just by speaking out about this. I mean, maybe it'll send a message to other school principals, but sadly, I think this wokeism, has permeated our education system to such a degree that it has destroyed, I think, a sense of patriotism amongst people. And when you talk about support for the police, you're talking about really support for the country in many respects, because you're talking about support for our laws. And so when you're attacking law enforcement in this way, not the chiefs, but the average police officer, I think you're attacking the country, because when people want to wreck this country, when they want to undermine support for Canada, support for everything we stand for, one of the areas they look to destroy is law enforcement, because you're on the front lines of enforcing the very laws that that represent who we are as a nation. So it boils down. I know that's the way it's not a small thing when you see something like this, and it's very
No.
troubling indeed when you see the school system so co-opted by what I consider the far left, really Marxist elements. In my opinion, you're talking about people who are weaned in this hardcore far left view of the world, that somehow freedom is a bad thing. Everything that was good now all of a sudden is bad. So police enforcement, belief in the country, our flag. Well, we can't even fly the flag, at the top now. We got to fly it at half mast all the time. It's ridiculous. They finally raised it only to bring it down again, and it's just on and on. Like, to me, it just seems like all of society seems to be under attack sometimes, Adrian. And when they go after our kids, that's when you know that the fight is really on, don't you?
It's a sad day for sure, and I think that it's the attitude that's coming out. It's kind of like, well, everyone's allowed to have free speech unless you don't agree with me. And then that's what I seem to see from that far left idea, is kind of like, well, and if you don't agree with me, then you're a bad person, and you're this, that, and the other. It's kind of like, oh my gosh, again, let's just break it down to common sense and what's really going on here. And I think that escapes logic sometimes with some of these arguments. It's like, this kid is just supporting his family. This is not a hate thing. This is on a personal motor vehicle. You're telling him what he can and can't have on his car or on his truck. It makes zero sense. It's unfortunate that he's now on taking the brunt of this. But I mean, it is what it is. Unfortunately, I hope that cooler heads prevail and realize that this was a travesty, because this kid has just stood up for what he believes, and that's his right as a Canadian to do so. It's very disappointing that the principal took such a hard line.
Yeah, certainly is. I want to get back to you were mentioning the groups in Toronto that were subject to firings or looking at getting fired after Christmas. How much do the unions that your associates, do you guys work together? How closely do you work to support each other? I would think that you would. I mean, you're maybe different unions or different locals, but there's got to be a sense of solidarity amongst all the unions in order to push back against what's going on. Does that exist in Canada?
Well, certainly within Ontario and within the country as well. We have the PAO, which is the Police Association of Ontario. And so that encompasses all 52 police services within the province. Toronto Police Service, or the Toronto Police Association, is not a member, but we all certainly work in collaboration together. We share ideas in what's going on within each individual service. The OPP as well. So it's kind of like the trifecta of the OPP, the PAO, and the TPA, or the OPPA. So we have constant conversations back and forth within presidents. We have our own chat line even. So if I know what's going on in Stratford or in Brockville or Cornwall, we know what's going on. So we certainly have that collaboration. We are a very tight group of individuals. Again, we don't always see eye to eye, but it's successful. And you have to know that we're stronger in a bigger group like the PAO. Within the country, the CPA is also there. But I mean, I think Ontario is so much more unique than all the rest of the provinces, when we've got so much more oversight, which is great. We have the OIPRD, we have the SIU. I mean, there's so many things that we have here in the province that the other provinces don't have. So they look to us for a lot of the grievances and issues that we're dealing with here in Ontario, and we're kind of like the spearhead for that. So they look to us for more of the answers. As far as Toronto goes, I can't even imagine what John Tory's thinking. I know that John Reid, the president of the TPA, is working diligently. I know that that date is coming up, that they've adjusted that date. But my understanding is that Doug Ford's going to lift the vaccine passport sometime in January, even before it's going to be over in March. So if he's going to do that, so you're going to fire these people for what, a week? 2 weeks these people are going to get their jobs back. I'm telling you that. I mean, if he wants to try, and when I say he, I mean Doug Ford, or John Tory, or the Chief Raymer wants to let these people go, an independent arbitrator is absolutely going to come back and say it is unreasonable for you to let this person go, or have them terminated for 2 weeks when it's now deemed over and they've been working for the last 20 to 21 weeks or 21 months. I can't see an arbitrator in the world or a judge in the world saying, yeah, that's reasonable. It's going to be absolutely unreasonable, and they're going to get their job back. And it's just foolish. This is just posturing to the nth degree by John Tory and Chief Raymer. I think are making a massive mistake on this, and they're going to have to walk it back. And it's going to be embarrassing. It's going to be embarrassing. And I don't think that they want to be seen as, well, we having to walk it back. But I think that's why you have, Chief Juriapa and Peel having that common sense approach and be like, yeah, we're not going to do that. You guys might be want to do that over there, but we're not going to do that. He doesn't want to walk it back. Yeah. He doesn't want to be made foolish to look foolish. He wants to be, appear to be reasonable. And that's what we've done here in the Region Appeal.
I wish I was as confident as you are, Adrian, about Premier Ford ending the mandates. Because now, of course, you've got this Omicron variant. And so all of a sudden, a fresh excuse to continue the mandates, to impose even stricter lockdowns. And, it just seemed like this thing was timed, just as the pressure was building on governments around the world to say, okay, no more. This has got to end, open it up. And all of a sudden, poof, oh, here's another variant. Sorry. It's like made to order. It just seemed to me, I don't know.
I think this has been discussed and talked about, though, for months and months and months. Yeah. That once the Delta variant was over, then there's going to be a new variant and a new variant and a new variant and a new variant.
Yeah.
So, I mean, then you got to get your third booster, your fourth, your fifth, your sixth. So, I mean, I can see the frustration on everyone on both sides, whether you are or you aren't vaccinated or whatever the case may be. So I understand the frustration on everyone. And you're right. I don't know what Doug's going to do. Maybe throughout this whole thing, he's changed the goalposts throughout the game, and it's tough. So again, I don't know. I've heard that might be one of the things that they're going to lift the passports in January. If they do, great. If they don't, great. Whatever. It is what it is. You're going to see 3,200 members in Peel Regional Police going out and doing a bang up job day in, day out. So it doesn't really matter because they're always going to answer the bell.
Adrian Wooley doing a bang up job over at the Peel Police Association. Thank you so much for coming on the show, my friend.
Anytime, Mark. Thanks so much for having me.
Got to take a break. Back with more on News Talk Saga 960 and the Mark Petrone Show after this. All right. Thank you, sir.
Not a problem. Thank you.
Like I said,
I wish the weather down there. Bastard.
I'm sending pictures of myself in the sun by the pool. And you know what my friends are sending back to me? Like, fuck Fingers? You.
Yeah, fuck you. No doubt.
I say, look, I just want to give you an update.
Yeah.
And
those were my conversations with Nish on the phone. Hey, fucker, we're not doing that, eh? Because you don't want, I'll tell you right now, the tail doesn't wag the dog. The dog wags the tail. And he's like, yeah. I know, Adrian, I know. So
good for you, man. I tell you, the lefties must hate you.
Well, too fucking bad. They fucking hate me. Then get it. Listen, I'm not afraid. Get in line. It's a fucking long one. It goes around the block. It's not like, I want everyone to like Adrian Wooley. I don't want people to hate me, but fuck, me doing a good job is going to get people to hate me. Well, then get in the long line because I don't give a shit.
Yeah, absolutely right on. Take care. I'm going to post this on News Talk Canada today.
Okay.
And not newstalkcanada.com. And it'll run tomorrow.
Amazing.
The show's at between 1 and 3 p.m. And then They'll post it on podcast. It'll be on Spotify and Google and all that sort of thing. So
awesome. Well, hey, listen, if you need it, you ever want me back, hit me up. I'll be
my
a
friend,
regular.
you can come back. As far as I'm concerned, you can come back anytime. It's an open door for you.
Perfect.
Come back, promote your organization, promote the union, promote what you do. Take shots where shots need to be taken, and we're in it together as far as I'm concerned.
And that's the thing. I don't think that I'm taking cheap shots. It's not like
No.
I'm firing in the dirt. Like
No.
I'm taking aim at people that are actually taking a massive shit pile on things that are you would think would be easy. But I I don't know. Doug's going to have to look after at least one of his his son-in-laws. I know for sure. So I don't know if his son's going to get it, but his girlfriend or Doug's daughter keeps saying that. So her hubby's going to get fired. So we'll see what Doug's going to do. Maybe Doug will have to move him in.
I mean, I don't envy the guy. I think he's a decent guy. I voted for him. Happily voted for him. But man,
yeah, same here.
You know, I just to me, it's a bit of a disappointment. And then now you got this new blue party. We'll see how much they siphon off. And Liberals at 3 points back. I mean, it's early. I think Doug will win again, but nowhere near the same kind of enthusiasm.
No, not at all. Now, yeah, Doug's been a big lunchbox letdown as far as I'm concerned. Are you saying the PPC group is provincially now?
Well, the new blue party, it's Jim
the new blue party.
Yeah,
right.
So they've already got 2%. I mean, so again, you're talking about PPC type deal in Ontario, where you've got a conservative party that is a right wing party that's kind of siphoning off votes. But whose fault is it? There would be no reason to vote PPC if Doug ran things like a conservative would. So I think,
well, and that's the same for Aaron O'Toole. Aaron O'Toole became just a watered down version of Justin. So you wonder why the PPC had such a strong showing their first time. Like, give me a break. Like, Aaron, if you can't see the writings on the wall right there, they're only going to gain more momentum the more you start to go into the medium and the moderate. It's like, okay, well, there's a reason why your voters went to the PPC.
Yeah, they lost 800,000 votes from 2019.
Yeah,
they got to get rid of Aaron. He's got to go. He had his shot.
He's not a leader.
No, he's not a leader.
He does not have that it factor. No. I'm sorry. No. He does not. He is not a leader. And neither was Andrew Scheer either. I mean,
not really. I agree.
But they got to have that it factor. And I'm sorry, those two, they just don't have it. They could be very smart. They could be very good at their job, but they're not a leader. They're a supporting role at best.
I'd vote for you, man, if you ran. How's your French? How's your All right, I got to bail, my friend.
Sorry, someone just called me there.
Oh, take the call. Take the call, Adrian, or go get back. But thank you for coming on, and
hopefully I'm still on there, or you can still see me.
Yeah, I can still see you. Yeah. I got to talk to Benjamin. Thanks,
Benjamin, Mark. Man. If you can't see me,
okay. See you later.
Happy to be here.
Can you hear me? All right. See you later, Adrian.